Hi everyone, welcome to the Piano Keys. I'm so glad that you're here. So, I get a lot of emails and Instagram messages and Facebook messages and even just questions here underneath the videos. And most of them seem to be revolve around kind of the same thing, which is like people are looking for the secret to getting good at piano. And I don't know that there's a secret, but there's definitely something that I've noticed in my many, many years of playing professionally, of, being a music student. I have a bachelor's and master's degree in piano performance, so I've done a lot of study. I've studied with other people. I've taught people. I've done a lot of musical theater and opera work, like music directing and accompanying and things like that. So when I tell you what I'm about to tell you, it's not just my opinion that I thought of. It's really what I've been observing through many, many years of being a professional performer, of being a student myself, and of being a teacher. Okay, the secret, before I get to it, I'm going to tell you a couple of things that it's not, that you might think that that's the secret, okay? So, the first thing that is not the secret is having talent. Is having talent important? Of course, because when you get to a certain level of proficiency, if you compare two people who have put in the same amount of work, the same type of work, the same number of years, the same teachers and everything, and one of them just has this innate ability, something they were born with, and the other one doesn't, you're going to tell the difference between the one with talent and the one with, let's say, less talent, or I don't know, no talent. I don't believe that, but let's just say that that exists, okay? You'll be able to tell the difference. The one that's talented has that little extra something. But without the work, talent is useless. So people define talent like a natural ability, something you're born with, and it is. But I think it's a little bit more than that. It's an interest in something, a getting a joy out of doing something, right? So, for example, in my case, my mom was a musician. She was a conservatory student when I was born. And I grew up around music, listening to her practice and this sort of thing. And there was a piano at some point in the house. I don't remember when it came into the house. And my mom said that I would come home from nursery school and like reach up to the keys and start picking out the songs that I had heard and learned in nursery school. So in that sense, I had an interest. The piano could have been there and I could have just gone and banged on it and walked away, but I wanted to figure out the songs that I had learned, like how to make those sounds myself. So in my case, it was an interest in knowing how are these sounds made. And the interest kind of compounds. So for example, if someone gets like joy out of playing the piano, right? And they have like a natural pull toward playing the piano, the more they play the piano, the better they're going to get at it. So it's like a cycle that feeds upon itself. You get better, it's more fun, you spend more time doing it. So I think talent is more than just an ability that you're born with, it's also an interest that you spend time developing. So is talent tied in with physical properties? For example, if someone is very tall, are they necessarily going to be good at basketball or even like to play basketball? No, of course not. But it does help if you're taller, then you're, playing basketball at a certain level. Everyone around you is like past 6'5". It helps to be taller. But there have been instances of famous basketball players who have been pretty short, even for normal people. Like there was one guy who was like 5'5". I forgot his name. Sorry, you probably know if you know about basketball. Was it Spuds? It was something. So I know that they exist, but the norm is tall people. But are all tall people interested in and talented in basketball? No. Or if you want to do ballet, let's say, right? So the typical ballet body is long legs compared to your torso. Your legs should be much longer in proportion. You should be very thin, have very thin bones, not muscular, pretty skinny. Well, one of the most famous ballerinas today, Misty Copeland, doesn't fit any of that. She's 5'2". Her legs are like, regular proportion to her body. She's very muscular. And she is an amazing ballerina. So, and then people think, well, if you have talent, you're going to start early in life, and that sets you on the right course. So, people ask me all the time, I'm 18. Is it too late for me to start piano? No. Even if you want to be professional, no. You can be professional when you start later in life. Misty Copeland, she did her first ballet class at age 13. Now, I don't know if you know anything about ballet, but by age 13, you're considered either like you're on the road to being a professional ballerina or it's years too late for you. Well, she had her first class at 13 and she is talented. She's very talented and she works really hard. I saw a show about her where she's got all these injuries, she's in pain basically all the time. But you don't know that from watching her dance. So normally people go on point, which is on point is when you like dance on your toes, what you imagine a ballerina to do. It takes a couple of years of strengthening and getting your body ready. From what I've read, Misty Copeland got on point 3 months after she started doing ballet. That doesn't happen with talent. It happens with lots of hard work. So she put in many hours of practice and it paid off. She's very, very talented. Like, there's no denying that. But let's say that Misty Copeland had never walked into that ballet class. She's like in her 30s now. Would her talent matter? No. She never tried it. She never did it. So, who cares? So, talent by itself is not the secret. Okay, so the second thing you might think that is the secret is practice. Practice is not the secret. Practice is very important. I have a dance teacher whom I love very much, Dennon Rawles. He wrote a book you might be interested in reading. It's called On the Floor, and it is about his experiences as a professional dancer and, a dance teacher. But really, it's for everyone who wants to get good at something, get really good at something. So if you feel like reading something very inspiring and educational and funny, get On the Floor. I just think it's an awesome book and I love the author. He's an incredible teacher. So the reason I'm mentioning Dennon Rawles is because in his dance class is where I first learned that the following statement is completely untrue. Practice makes perfect. How many times have you heard that? Practice makes perfect. No, Dennon taught me that practice does not make perfect. Practice makes permanent. What does that mean? Well, whatever you practice, that's what you're going to remember. So if you practice something wrong all the time, are you ever going to get perfect at it? No. You're probably going to get worse and worse because you're going to practice those mistakes that you're making. So practice makes permanent. And this is why it's really important when you practice to do those things that you want your body to remember. So if you're making mistakes or playing with bad technique and you're thinking or saying, yeah, I know it's wrong, but, I know, but I'm just doing this right now. Okay, you might know up here, but your body doesn't know. Your body remembers what you keep repeating, okay? This is kind of tied into a question that people ask me all the time. How long have you been playing? Because the thinking behind that is the longer you play, the better you get. Oh, I wish that were true. I really do, especially as a teacher. Because when I get transfer students that have been playing, 5, 6, 7 years, and I get excited because I think, wow, you must be pretty advanced by now. And they sit down to play for me, I just want to, I wish you hadn't played at all because I could teach you the right way from the beginning because you've got all these really horrible technique habits, and they don't know how to, they think they know how to read music, but they actually don't. They think they know the rules of music and they don't. So that's on their teacher, that's really bad. But um yeah, so the length of time that you've been doing something, and you've probably encountered this too. I saw this a lot in dance class where people say, "Oh yeah, I've been dancing since I was 6," and they were like 20 something. And you watch them dance and you're like, no. Maybe you need to like back up a little bit and take some remedial dance classes because your technique's off. So, how long you've been doing something really has very little bearing on how good are at it. And if we go back to Misty Copeland, you know, she started at 13 and she was, I think she wasn't even 20 yet by the time she was like, well known as a ballerina. She was actually quite younger than 20. I don't remember exactly. So it's not that you practice or how long you practice. It's what are you practicing? How well are you practicing? Is your brain involved, or are you just going through the motions? Okay, so if it's not talent and if it's not practice, even though those things are very important, what is the secret to getting good at playing the piano? The secret is having an open mind, or in the words of Zen Buddhism, having a beginner's mind. What does a beginner's mind mean? Well, it's knowing that you don't know. It's approaching every practice session, every performance, everything with a question in your mind. How can I do this better? How can I do it differently? So Zen Master Suzuki wrote that in the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few. How many times have you tried to help someone that you see a better way of doing something and they go, "Oh, no, no, I know what I'm doing." And you know that there is a better way, but they're experts. They're experts in themselves or in what they're doing, and so there's not any room for them to learn anything. As a musician, I've worked with all kinds of people, actors and dancers and other musicians, and I can tell you 100%, the ones that are really good at what they do, first of all, have almost no ego. They're very humble people. And number two, they're always open to learning, to be getting critiqued, to asking, how can I do this better? That's what makes an artist. And, obviously music is an art, is asking. It's not knowing, it's wondering. It's knowing that you don't know. So you want to cultivate an attitude of openness, of eagerness, of figuring out what more can you learn, even if you're at an advanced level, maybe even especially if you're an advanced level. So everybody thinks that they're an expert in themselves. Like, I know myself. So I will say to a friend who, plays piano and says, what's happening here? I can't get over this thing. And I say, "Oh, I know exactly what it is. You need to do X, Y, and Z." And they'll say, "Oh, no, no, I tried that and that doesn't work for me." Well, I believe you. I believe that you tried that and it didn't work in the past. But you're not the same person now that you were then, in the sense that you've had different experiences since then. You've practiced different things. Your body's different. You have a different, maybe, level of understanding. So why not try that again from this new level of understanding? I remember having an adult student who's very, very intelligent, but that very intelligence stood in her way. She would show up to a lesson and like knowing that she couldn't do such a thing and she could do such a thing. And I couldn't get a word in edgewise during the lesson to actually help her to overcome those very small bumps in the road that to her they look like giant mountains, because she was focusing so much on them and she didn't listen to what I had to say. Not really. She didn't apply what I had to say and she quit. and she doesn't play anymore, which is fine, but it happens all the time in little ways too. So keep an open mind. You know, if I say something during a tutorial and I say, do it this way or try this, try it. It might not work. Try it the next day. It might work the next day. You don't know until you try, right? A couple of times I've gotten numerous questions from the same people asking me about how to do things in music. And I would say, you know, these are really complex subjects. You should get a teacher, either me or somebody else, a qualified teacher. And by the way, check out my video on how to find a good teacher, because there are a lot of people who are not great teachers, but there are really good teachers. So you want to know the difference. So I would say, you know, you really need to study this with a teacher. And the answer was, oh no, I want to do it on my own. But you're asking me for help. You're not doing it on your own. You know, you're asking for a teacher, like you're begging for a teacher, but you don't realize that you're looking for a teacher. So why spend years searching, making mistakes, trying to reinvent the wheel, wasting your time when you could find a great teacher who will show you the way to go? Like, this is how you get here. I've done it. I've showed other people how to do it. This will save you time. Okay? So seek out a good teacher. And maybe you have a friend who's a great pianist. Say, I'm going to play this for you and tell me what you think. Even like top athletes have coaches, right? Why? They know how to do their thing, but they have a coach. It's another set of eyes. It's a different perspective. And they want to get better and better, even at the top of their field. So, you know, don't have an ego about it. Like, I'm going to do this on my own, or I already know what I'm doing. Maybe you do, but maybe somebody can see something that you're not seeing because you're in the middle of it, or because they have a different set of experiences to draw upon. Okay, so what does this all mean? What is the secret? The secret is to have a beginner's mind. When you sit down to practice, ask, what if? What if I did it this way instead of that way? If I always start practicing, you know, hands together, what if I practice left hand first? Try different things, figure out how they feel for you. Ask people who are better than you. There's always somebody who's better than you. Most people are willing to share their knowledge. And every time that you practice or play, know that you're going to learn something new. Go into it like, what am I going to learn today? So that's the secret, according to me. Find me on Instagram, The Piano Keys TPK. My website is thepianokeys.com. And on Facebook, The Piano Keys. Subscribe to my channel, like my videos, and I will see you soon. Bye.